If you're a mountain biking mom or dad and you want to bring your kiddos with you on your cycling adventures in the most engaging way possible, then stick around to get my take on the awesome products offered by the company Kids Ride Shotgun. Kids Ride Shotgun is a small company out of New Zealand whose mission is to raise the next generation of mountain bikers. The product lineup consists of the front mount child bike seat and mini handlebars for kids approximately aged 2 to 5, as well as the new MTB tow rope and hip pack combo for bigger kids who need a little help getting up the climbs. Now, full disclosure, we actually bought the child seat and paid full retail over a year ago, and we liked it so much that I reached out to the company, who subsequently sent over the handlebar attachment and the tow rope to test out. However, this is not a paid sponsorship, and all opinions and experiences are my own. So let's start with the kid seat. It's designed to be compatible with, quote, high-end mountain bikes, which translation means it's compatible with carbon frames. Now, the seat itself is a nice soft padded saddle, appropriately sized for kids. And the mount is constructed from steel with strategically placed rubber pads to protect your precious frame from scratches. Now, we've had this seat mounted on my wife's alloy specialized rockhopper, as well as my carbon Santa Cruz high tower, and it's been just fine on both bikes. The foot pegs remind me of those knurled pegs we'd put on our BMX bikes as kids, and they're actually perfect for this application as they help to reduce slippage. Also, the adjustable rubber foot straps help to keep your kids' feet in place. Now, unlike other kid seats on the market, this one is completely adjustable to fit virtually any frame without any additional brackets required on the steerer or on the seat post. Now, first time installation does take a bit of time, as you want to get the spacing between the plates just right for your particular frame. Now, the trick that I found works the best is to use the two nuts on the crossbar between the foot pegs to get just the right amount of compressive force on your down tube. You want enough force to create sufficient friction to prevent slippage, but not so much as to crush your frame. And once you get the spacing right, you basically hand tighten the foot pegs down on either side until they're nice and tight. Then you'll use the included quick release middle skewer to add additional compressive force to further prevent slippage. Now, thankfully the instructions are really clear, and after this initial setup, it's actually pretty easy to remove and reinstall the seat anytime you want. Now, on the bike with your kiddo mounted, it's really easy to get going, and there's basically no learning curve. Now, in my opinion, the best part about the front mount child seat, as opposed to say a rear mount child seat or a trailer, is the engagement. With your little one securely between your arms, you can easily carry on a conversation and respond to their observations in real time, which is really why we love this seat so much. Now, we've had the rear kid trailer in the past, but we ultimately got rid of it because it wasn't nearly as much fun and it was way bulkier than this compact setup. Now, according to the website, the weight limit for the seat is 48 pounds. Now, in our experience, our bigger kid, who's now 5, exceeded the physical space available before he ever reached the stated weight limit. So in our case, he ended up graduating to riding his own bike when he was about 4.5, which is actually what we wanted for him anyways. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, the earliest you'd want to use this seat of course depends on the individual kid and their particular stage of development. But in our case, we graduated our little one from the Yep mini front mount seat to the Kids Ride Shotgun seat right around the time she turned 2, or maybe just before. Now, of course, you're going to be the best judge of when your little one will be ready for this seat, but at minimum, they need to be able to, of course, sit up on their own and hold their head up well, but also be strong enough to be able to sit on the seat with their feet planted and hold on to the handlebars to support their upper body weight for an extended period of time. So while the minimum stated age is 2 years old, definitely use your own judgment and start with short rides and feel it out first. Now, for the first year or so of owning this seat, we actually didn't even use the handlebar attachment because we didn't think we really needed it. However, once we did put the handlebars on, we found that the little one felt even more stable with a solid bike grip to hold on to. Now, keep in mind, without the handlebar attachment, your kid holds on to the bare handlebar, which is usually fine, but it is a cold, hard surface, and well, a dedicated grip for them is just nicer to have. Now, thankfully, Kids Ride Shotgun really thought this product through pretty well. It's really easy to attach thanks to the low-profile hinged clamps, which means you don't actually have to take your cockpit apart every time you want to install and remove these handlebars. Also, the spacing of the clamps is adjustable to suit different stem widths, which is a nice touch. Now, out of the box, the clamp diameter is suited for 35mm bars, but it does include rubber spacers to size down to any other bar diameter. Now, sure, alloy shims would be a bit nicer, but these rubber spacers work just fine. In our case, we've been using the rubber spacers on my wife's rockhopper, and we haven't had any issues with the bars rotating or moving at all. So a couple of things to watch out for when using the kid seat. Now, the first thing is if you run a dropper seat post, Just be really careful when dropping it down while your kiddo is on the seat, as the nose of your saddle could in theory scrape their back if they happen to be sitting too far back. Now another thing to keep in mind is that if you have a super independent kid who likes to do everything themselves, be sure to keep an eye on your bike while gearing up, as they might try to climb the unattended bike and get on the seat themselves. Now in our case, we usually let her climb up by herself, but only after we're firmly holding the bike in place. So that's basically it for the bike seat and handlebars. It's a really solid product that has allowed us to really expand our range and plan longer, more adventurous rides. Now the newest product, which is the tow rope, couldn't have come at a better time for us. Our bigger kid here, who is now 5.5, has far outgrown the kid seat and is getting more and more confident on his own 16-inch bike. Now we're fortunate enough to live near some pretty beginner-friendly mountain bike trails, and the tow rope allows us to explore for way longer without him getting too tired too quickly. Now, the concept is pretty simple. It's a rope that connects two bikes together and allows the lead bike to help pull the trailing bike. However, what's key here is the execution of this product is fantastic. Now initially, I must admit, I was expecting basically a giant rubber band or something like one of those old bungee cords that would really do some damage if it snapped back and hit you. This tow rope, on the other hand, has some damping built in, which means it isn't as, for lack of a better word, snappy as you might expect. The tension feels progressive, so when you're just getting going, the trailing bike doesn't seem to get a sudden jolt, but rather gets a gradually increasing force. Now I was a bit worried the first time we tried it out that I would end up whipping him off his bike if I started pedaling too fast, but that actually hasn't been the case so far at all. Now when combined with the kid seat, the tow rope has allowed us to venture out as a whole family, and it's surprisingly easy to use. Now just as a test, I asked him not to pedal as I towed him up some relatively steep climbs, and it didn't really feel that much harder. And then of course when he started turning the cranks, it felt much easier and yet still manageable for him. Now installation is super easy, which is nice because most bike routes don't just consist of one big uphill and one big downhill. All you have to do is loop the strap over the lead bike and use the included ripcord and carabiner to attach the other end to the trailing bike. Now I must say that the rather comical load rating for the tow rope is 500 pounds, which, you know, bummer because not to brag, but I've got the FTP to tow 600. That's stupid. But it is nice to know that the rope won't snap or break on us anytime soon. Now, like I said, it's really easy to get going, but there are a few things to watch out for when getting started. Now, the first thing is communication. We've found that what works best is to do like a 3 count every time we get going, so we both push off at roughly the same time. Now, it doesn't have to be exact, but you don't want him to get in front of you, and you also don't want to start too soon and end up dragging him along behind you. Now the other thing is line choice. It's important to remind him to stay behind you so the towing force is in line with the bike. Now if he ends up off to one side, it can cause some strange lateral forces that can be a little bit disruptive. Lastly, and this one is important, you want him to be aware anytime you stop. So be sure to call it out and let him know that you're slowing down and that he should do the same. Sudden screeching halts are not recommended. Now when you want to stash the tow rope, I highly recommend getting the matching hip pack as it fits the tow rope perfectly with additional storage for a snack or two. This hip pack honestly deserves its own spotlight video. It's as high quality as any of my other bike bags with great graphics and super functional features. It's got 2 pockets for storage, a breathable air mesh back, and it has side wings for additional support. The buckle is big and easy for a kid to use, and it even has built-in strap management loops to keep the excess lengths of strap tucked away. Now at first glance, I must admit it does seem like a pretty pricey option, but it really is worth it in my opinion. This thing is awesome and they really didn't skimp out here. So altogether, between the kid seat, the handlebars, and the tow rope, our family of 4 has really been able to expand our horizons and explore more of our surrounding trails. Now I hear this all the time, but as much effort as it is to pack everyone up and load the gear and get out to the trails, it really is worth it. And these adventures that at the time can seem tough to make happen are really creating the memories that I think will last a lifetime. Our short bike outings to the park have been transformed into full-on mountain biking adventures. And honestly, we really haven't found the upper limit on how far we can go before the kids or the grown-ups get too tired. Now again, I want to thank Kids Ride Shotgun for giving this small YouTube channel a chance to represent the average cyclist. If you're interested and want to learn more about their products, then be sure to check out their website, which is linked down in the description below. And as always, thanks again for watching, and thanks for subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.